Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network. Become enlightened, have fun, and tell all your friends and family to share with everyone they know. You can watch us on YouTube and Rumble while following us on Facebook, or find us on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcasts can be found on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. Most of all, remember to go to our official website at consciousradionetwork.com for past episodes, future shows, and scheduling. We also want to welcome our international audience. Don't stop now. Enjoy the community. Subscribe or follow today.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Good day, everybody. Welcome, wherever you might be on this spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's The Seance. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Meckes. If this is your first time tuning in, please click subscribe, like, share, comment, and also don't forget to follow wherever you listen to your podcasts. Today, humanity's relation to creation. An experienced and authoritative spiritual teacher, author, and podcaster with over 2 decades of experience in meditation and mindfulness instruction. He has conducted numerous workshops and group sessions on self-healing and personal growth, guiding many individuals on their journey towards greater self-awareness and enlightenment. With an extensive bio, it's enormous. We'd kill too much time for me talking about it rather than asking him himself. Let's welcome to the seance today, Dean Graves. Welcome, brother. How you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Paul.
You were very, very, very welcome. Yes, when I was reading the bio, I was like, man, that's a lot to just. I'm like, we got to give you time to talk, man.
Good. I'm ready. Yeah.
Yeah. So consciousness is right up. Wow, this is right up. This is what this show's about too. It's hence Conscious Radio Network. So when it comes to the genesis of creation and consciousness, what is the purpose and process that began creation and consciousness?
Creation, the purpose of creation is so that the one infinite creator might know itself by experiencing itself. We are consciousness. Everything that we experience is consciousness of one vibrational level or another. The process of creation began with the one infinite creator that is outside of creation, created an environment which is called intelligent infinity. And within that environment, the one infinite creator projected an analog projection of itself. The only difference between the projection and the one infinite creator is that the projected one infinite creator is intoxicated with free will. Free will is an often misunderstood concept. It is the concept of the perception of separation. So the projected one infinite creator perceived itself as separate from the actual one infinite creator, and by its very nature is a concept. The projected one infinite creator can be identified as the creator as the subject. The original creator is the creator as the object. And by projecting this creation of itself, it gave itself the opportunity to identify itself in relation to this projected self. If you're all that there is and you have no sense of self, you have no sense of yourself as a being. And so consequently, that step created the opportunity for the creator to interact with this projection and thereby learn of itself. The creator as the subject, because it perceived itself as separate, interpreted its experiences and interaction with the one infinite creator uniquely, and diversify the scope of learning available to the one infinite creator as the object.
Yeah, that's deep.
So that was the genesis. That was the genesis of creation.
Yeah. And that's why it seems like a lot of people have been talking, especially the quantum physicists out there have been talking about the simulation theory.
Mm-hmm.
That that reality, and to me, there's no such thing as reality; it's a perception of the simulation. That this is all a simulation. In a sense, it is.
Well, it is a concept. All of creation is a concept, but a simulation again assumes that there is something that is authentic outside of the simulation. So I think calling it a simulation is opens the door for misunderstanding. We understand that it is a conceptual experience that we are creating as we go through our process of participating in creation. It is conceptual, but what makes it valuable to the creator is we perceive that it's real.
Yeah.
And so that perception is strategic to it being a successful experiment or endeavor by the creator.
And when it comes to free will, is there truly free will? Do we really have free will?
We do, but we perceive, and philosophers for centuries have debated whether we have free will, whether we don't have free will, whether it's predetermined or so forth. Certainly, we have the absolute choice whether to turn right or turn left or go high or go low, whatever the decision is. We learn by analogy. We learn by comparison and contrast. And so by virtue of free will, we do have that opportunity to experience that contrast, that analogy process. But it's only because we perceive ourselves as separate from the creator that we have that choice. If we perceived ourselves as all one, we wouldn't have a choice because there wouldn't be a choice to be made.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to the spiritual, and with us coexisting with the other side, so to speak, beyond the veil of the spirit realm, do you feel also that there's this intermingling, there's this co-op going on where they're assisting us from the other side?
We are, that first step that began creation, the analog projection of the creator as the subject was replicated an infinite number of times. And that process that we experience, we are very low on the consciousness scale. And there is a definable scale that we are progressing through. That is the Enlightenment path. The Enlightenment path is synonymous with the consciousness path, consciousness evolution path. What we're experiencing right now, we are an analog projection of our metaphysical self. So there is a metaphysical self that is enduring. It doesn't die. It begins with the range of consciousness that we currently experience. And it is cumulative. All of what we learn by virtue of our projections into what we perceive to be a physical world is accrued to our metaphysical being. And our metaphysical being differs in that it is a consciousness pattern. It is not physical as we perceive it, but it is very definable by virtue of it being a concise consciousness pattern. And so if you think of it being like on a sports team, and a sports team practices all week long, we watch game films of the last game, we get coaching, instruction, all of that sort of stuff, and then it's time for another game, and we incarnate into another lifetime. And so we are supposed to very subtly remember all of that coaching, all of what we learned from our training from the week before, and to try to apply that to our behaviors in the current lifetime. At this point in our development, the average human on Earth has incarnated over 3,000 times. Many have incarnated as many as 8,000 times. What is preserved from our incarnation has nothing to do with the physicality. Whether if you learned a lot about science or medicine or philosophies or whatever, all of that goes into the ground with us when we're buried, because it's inconsequential to our metaphysical self. Yeah. What is preserved is what we have learned about the inherent characteristics of the Creator. And those inherent characteristics become delineated as creation was developed. And creation was developed in layers. The Creator as the subject is referred to as the 8th density, and there are 8 densities. We are in the 3rd density. In the 7th density, 5 inherent characteristics of the Creator became delineated, and those very simply are awareness, love, wisdom, unity, and stillness. And we are tasked in our range of consciousness, in the 3rd range of consciousness, with becoming aware, and consequently becoming awareness in preparation for graduation to the next range of consciousness. The next range of consciousness, we will undertake a similar process, but having become aware in this range of consciousness, we are focused upon love. And we will be tasked with becoming love in order to prepare for graduation for the next range of consciousness, in which we will study by virtue of our experience as wisdom. And so on and so forth. The subsequent densities will study unity and stillness.
Yeah.
So it is a school. It is a learning process. What we are learning about is the associated inherent characteristic of the creator with each range that we evolve through, until eventually we have learned infinity. And once we learn infinity, then we are in fact reunited with the one infinite Creator. So we return from whence we began.
From source.
From source.
Yeah. Now, being in meditation, being a student and a practitioner of meditation, I'm sure you've had some experiences, higher consciousness, higher states of consciousness, altered states of consciousness. I sure have. Yeah. Some of the stuff that I've experienced, it's like, whoa, how can I explain this in layman's terms? It's like, you can't.
It's tough.
It's like,
yeah, it's designed to be experiential.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can't. Yeah. So I want to bring in. I've got 3 of your books to do a show and tell on. Let's go back in time here to your first book.
Okay.
And where can I find, before we move forward, where can everybody find you? For those who are watching, can obviously see the scrolling.
All the books are available on Amazon, and to give it away, they're cheaper on Amazon than ordering it through a bookstore. Yeah. The Enigma of Consciousness, Spiritual Exploration of Humanity's Relationship to Creation, is kind of my compendium book. And it takes you from this, what we've been discussing, the beginnings of creation, how creation was formed, what the densities are, and what each density is tasked with learning. It goes in, we function under the auspices of what is called an archetypical mind, which is nothing more than a blueprint for how we process thoughts. But it explains many of the things why we are the way that we are, why we process thoughts the way that we do. Yeah. and it goes into fairly significant detail of the creation of an ego, a hierophant, our false perception of self, which is, by the way, the only primary source of our stress and suffering.
Mm.
And our task at this range of consciousness, in addition, as part of becoming awareness, is to become aware of this hierophant and to begin to surrender the beliefs that we've incorporated into that hierophant. And in so doing, what we're doing, well, let me interject and step back just a minute. The free will that we're talking about is actually, it functions as an intoxicant.
Yeah.
The more we perceive that we are separate from the Creator, then the more uniquely we function. And it works very much like whiskey. The more whiskey you get, the less aware that you are, and the more stupid you do things. Stupidly you do things. And so consequently, free will does that. And we are very chaotic at this range of consciousness because we're very intoxicated with this free will. And the process of evolution and or the process of enlightenment is the process of surrendering the free will intoxication. And as we do that, then we evolve. We move closer to the Creator.
Yeah. Speaking of intoxication, it seems like that's lack of saying a conspiracy theory, but it seems like that's also been a level of control as using drugs and using alcohol and using, like you said, just using these things in general society to keep people, I wouldn't say, a lack of a better word, dumbed down, but away from keeping us away from enlightenment.
It lowers our awareness.
Yeah.
And the very thing that we're tasked with becoming at this range of consciousness is awareness. And so the more that we are preoccupied with any sort of drugs or alcohol, then it keeps us from evolving. But it's purposeful. We created it. It wasn't something that was descended upon us. We were the initiators and the users of it. I'm also a mental health counselor, and I work a lot with people that are in recovery or trying to recover from some sort of addiction. And the question that I ask every one of them is why does anybody use a substance?
Yeah.
And invariably, the answer is to feel better.
Mm.
And so the way to treat that, the cure for that, is to become aware of what those elements are that they have incorporated into their hierophant and their perception of self that needs to be healed, that makes them not feel good, that they need some sort of substance to feel better.
Mm. Yeah, I stopped that quite a few years ago. I very rarely drink, thank God.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, I don't miss it at all.
Yeah.
I'm actually more high off of it, away from it than, than anything
when
else.
you go into a deep meditation, there's no feeling that is as high as that.
Yeah.
And it is, there's stages that you go through in your metaphysical development, your meditation process, and you become more and more aware so that you experience greater happiness. Happiness is the measure of how we are doing in our evolutionary progression. We ultimately will, well, not ultimately, but even in the not too distant future, relatively speaking, we will become bliss. We will enter into the condition of bliss. And bliss is nothing more than the absence of stress. And so the more you heal, the happier that you get, and the closer to the being in that condition of bliss that you become. And there's much more beyond bliss. But that notwithstanding, it is a process that we are working towards, and happiness is the measure of how we're doing. And if you think of happiness as being like water that is filling in the void that is left by removing these erroneous beliefs of our perception of self. It's automatic. You can't help but get happier as you heal the false perceptions of self.
Yeah.
It just fills the void.
Yeah.
So it's not something we can get, it's something that we are.
Yeah, it seems too like those that feel lost, like they have a lost a sense of purpose in life, that they consult drugs, alcohol, and stuff like that. As soon as I realized, wow, I know what my purpose is. I know what I need to do. I need to do a podcast. Ever since I've been doing this, never needed it.
Yeah, it's great. Well, I reread recently Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. And it's a tremendous book. If your listening audience has not read that book, then I highly recommend that as a foundational book, because it puts into recontextualizes what meaning is. We all share exactly the same reason. All of consciousness shares exactly the same purpose, which is to explore ourselves, because that fulfills the purpose of creation. Our mission in life is different from our purpose in life. Our mission is to do whatever brings you joy. So if you find joy in being a messenger by virtue of being a podcaster, or you a lawyer or a doctor or a bricklayer or street sweeper, whatever your joy is going to provide you with the type of experiences that you need in order to fulfill your purpose.
Yeah.
And so it's not difficult. You just, if you do what you like, you're going to become proficient at it. And if you're proficient at anything, then you will become monetarily or whatever means, all your needs will be taken care of because of the proficiency that you have gained by virtue of doing what it is that you like.
Yeah. Yeah. That definitely makes sense.
It's not that difficult. We make it difficult, but it's really not that difficult.
No. I just need more people just need to meditate and just get disconnect, unplug, disconnect, and surrender.
Yeah. and it is a matter of surrender. It's surrendering this false perception of self. It's learning critical thinking to examine these aspects of you that you have agreed to incorporate either knowingly or unknowingly. Most of these beliefs we've accumulated into this hierophant or false perception of self by osmosis. We got it from parents, friends, society, whatever. We didn't think about it. We didn't decide, I'll put that belief in my false perception of self. It just kind of appeared, and we just took it for granted that it was supposed to be there.
Yeah. Let me bring up your previous book before we get to your newest.
Okay.
People get the identity model. What does this touch a little on?
This explains, I wrote this for mental health professionals, but it requires no mental health training in order to understand it and benefit from it. In other words, it's very plain language. And this describes the false identity that we are compelled to create, which you can call it a hierophant, you can just call it the ego. It's all the same thing, just different words for the same thing that we create. And it goes through and illustrates how we form this, number one, and how it manifests into our behaviors and interaction with the world around us. And there are 3 exercises that I put in the back that I use every day in my practice as a mental health counselor to help people heal. Things like traumas that we perceive that we've accumulated all day, every day. I get rid of people's traumas in 10 minutes, and they can't believe it.
Yeah.
But when you take the emotion off of the experience, people can put the pieces of the puzzle together themselves because they participated in it and understand why it happened and what the benefit was to them. but everything from depression to jealousy, which is a big bugaboo for most people, but it explains in detail all of these different manifestations of our perceived self that we employ in our everyday activities and beliefs, and helps you surrender those, helps you heal those. The exercises are excellent precursors to meditation. As being a meditation instructor, I get a lot of resistance from people that say, I just can't meditate. I've tried and I've tried and I've tried and I can't meditate. Well, it requires more energy to sit in silence than it does to be active. So someone who is constantly active is actually in a high degree of chaos. And the energy, if you have a machine, if you have a dozen hair dryers plugged into an electrical outlet, none of the hair dryers are going to work properly. Yeah. But as you unplug the hair dryers, the one that's supposed to be plugged in there works just fine. And so it's a healing that's afforded in the information in the identity model gives you the tools, the understanding and the tools that you need, and start unplugging those hair dryers so that you have more energy to do more work and heal yourself more expeditiously.
Yeah. Simplifying. Trying to simplify. And
it is, yeah, reducing the amount of stimulus that you perceive is coming in. People say, my thoughts are racing. Well, your thoughts aren't racing. Thoughts come into us like a metronome. There's no variety in the speed with which we process thoughts. There is significant variety in the condition of the processor. In other words, you. So if you're in chaos, you perceive those thoughts to be coming fast and furious. So as you begin to heal you, then you begin to recognize the velocity of the stimulus that's coming in, the thoughts that you're processing, and you can take control of those thoughts.
Yeah, making that inner dialogue a little less subtle, or more subtle that way.
Well, you can use your awareness to focus on the individual thought. Mm-hmm. Every thought is a lesson to us. We attract thoughts. We're magnetic. We don't create thoughts. That the creation of thoughts is way beyond our capacities. But we interpret thoughts. So we attract thoughts according to the way that we are. If you don't like the thoughts and the experiences that you're having, then it's you that you need to change, because you're the magnetic force that is attracting those thoughts. And that's one of the elements that is missed by most people that teach manifestation. They want to offer, well, if you do a mantra every day and, eventually you're just going to get that mantra fulfilled. But if you don't change you're not going to get that manifestation fulfilled, because your magnetism isn't associated or aligned with what it is that you're trying to attract.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's bring up your latest book.
Okay.
The Enigma of Consciousness. Tell us about this one.
Well, it explains the beginning of creation. It explains the structure of creation and goes by density. And generally, that each density could be an encyclopedic volume in and of itself. But it does explain the different densities, the function of every density. 6, 7, and 8 are the creator being densities. We participate in the range 3rd, 4th, and 5th that is classified as experiential densities. The first density and second density are foundational densities, and in order to have our physical world is actually created by the first density, which is what we would refer to as inorganic matter. But it's essential in order to have planets for us to project into and have physical world experiences. Second density is organic matter, plants and animals. and it's necessary to have plants and animals for us to survive as a third density generation, or as a third density being. The next range of consciousness will begin where we leave off in this density, but it will conclude with our surrendering of the authenticity of the physical. And so we no longer will need to incarnate into the physical world. Fifth density is not physical, and obviously sixth, seventh, and eighth then would not be physical as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a coexisting soup of that's why I wish I could explain some of the meditations that I've been through and experiences that I've had to try to explain what I've seen through these states. And when it comes to the consciousness, especially as a collective, mm-hmm. When it comes to like the collective consciousness, like mm-hmm. you take all of humankind, mm-hmm. of all of humanity as a collective, there's this model that we say that, where our consciousness, like mine is connected to yours, and then the next person and this person, there is a connection there. How would you describe that, and how that reacts to each other?
Okay, all is one. The infinity, the numeric value of infinity is one. Any other number is finite. Mm-hmm. And so consequently we are one, and it comes down to perception. At this range of consciousness, we perceive ourselves to be autonomous individuals, autonomous organisms. But we're comprised, even our body is comprised of multiple parts in order to make a perceived single organism. We are a mind, body, spirit. The body we have for this incarnation, it is temporary. We'll perceivably die, but our spirit doesn't die, which is another misnomer. We perceive that we have an individual spirit. There is one spirit, and that is the spirit of the one infinite creator. But again, getting back to perceptions, we perceive that we have an individual spirit because that is our capacity to recognize our creatorness. We perceive ourselves to be autonomous beings. The mind is nothing more than a bundle of beliefs. That's all the mind is. And whatever we agree to incorporate into that mind forms our mind, and that is the lens that we use to interpret our experiences. As we evolve, we will, again, from our perspective, we will surrender the autonomousness of our being and form what is called a social memory complex, which simply means that we recognize others that we are closely resonating with as our organism. That's who we perceive that we will be, and that social memory complex will merge and expand and merge and expand until eventually we recognize we can experience the oneness of the Creator. And so we're forever surrendering our perception of separation, which allows us to integrate into an ever larger, ever expanding social memory complex, which eventually results in unity with the Creator. Now, we perceive that we're autonomous beings, but from a higher consciousness, there is the perception of, depending on how high you go, the perception of all of the population of Earth, including the second and first densities that are contributing to our experience as one organism. The higher up, then our entire solar system is one organism. Our galaxy, which is also referenced as a universe, is one organism and expands ever upward by virtue of formation of federations and confederations that just have similarities of perspective. And they are organisms that transcend universes until eventually we are able to recognize the oneness and experience the oneness of the Creator.
I was gonna segue into my next question.
Okay.
Is I would assume, yeah, that you would believe that there are um, extraterrestrial, non-Earth beings in our
Oh, yeah.
cosmos, in the universe, many, many different life forms.
Yeah, we can't fathom how, and there are multiple creations too.
Hmm.
So we're perceiving creation to be just one event, but there are multiple creations.
Yeah, yeah. And you look at Drake's equation of the possibility of galaxies and planets in the solar system like Earth. I mean, hundreds, if not millions.
Well, in our galaxy, there are roughly 67 million um, planets, for lack of a better identification, that are within the either the foundational or the experiential densities, multiple densities occupying a space as we perceive it.
Hmm.
And roughly 26% of 27% of that 67 million within our galaxy are the same range of consciousness as we are.
Mm.
In other words, they're in third density as well.
Yeah.
Earth is in a significant transformation stage right now, in that the planet is splitting, and this is not the physical planet itself. The physical planet is just a bookmark.
Yeah.
But we have completed a third density experience has a beginning, a very precise beginning and end, and my higher self describes it as regular as the clock striking. So that is roughly 76,000 years. And we concluded a third density experience in February of 2016. And we began immediately a new third density experience, and we didn't notice any change. We weren't supposed to. But we also began a fourth density experience. And the majority, if not the overwhelming majority of children that have been born since the mid 2005, 2006 range in there are fourth density children. And so they will continue on their fourth density in conjunction with us until we split. And they will have a fourth density experience all their own, and the third density will continue on its journey. The distinction will be made, of which we participate in, by us according to how willing we are to surrender our free will intoxication and meet the criteria, curriculum criteria, in order to participate in fourth density, or whether we need to spend a little bit more time in third density in order to learn the curriculum of third density.
Yeah.
And that's in process right now. And you see that you can watch YouTube or TikTok or whatever your preferred medium is. The children that are showing dramatic talents in music or awareness of the world, the infinite world around us, they're just fourth density children.
Yeah.
And they think, well, why can't everybody do this? You know, I don't think there's nothing unique about me. Why can't you play the piano like Liszt? Or
And that's the crowd that we need. That's the generation that I can't wait gets into, government.
they're beginning. They're beginning. They're reaching that age where they're, college age, and you're seeing again a lot of campus protests. They're not going to put up with all this stuff that the third density has created, and so there's going to be some significant transformation of the things that we perceive to be institutions, because they're not going to put up with all that stuff.
Yeah, especially the mundane aspect of. Instead of a monetary-based economy, going to a resource-based economy, similar to Jacques Fresco's The Venus Project's ideas, where nobody really has to work. We don't have to get paid. We're not, busting our butt every day to make a living,
Yeah, it's
but
not
rather creating the society where everybody thrives and survives equally.
Well, they undoubtedly will recognize the Sisyphusian behavior of pushing the rock back up the hill every day is not productive.
Yeah.
And so consequently, but the third density population of Earth, Earth has been considered a second chance planet, which means that we've all failed to graduate from other third density experiences. And Earth is an accumulation of 16 different failed third density populations from around the galaxy.
Wow.
And so we're kind of like a reform school. And a significant portion of the population came from Deneb. A large part of the population originated on Zenoa, the planet Zenoa, which we now call Venus, and failed to graduate and blew the atmosphere off of Venus. And so that one of the larger segments that began, I just call it the Zenoa Earth population.
Yeah.
They were transferred to Maldek, and they blew the entire planet up, and that's the asteroid ring that we have in our part of our solar system. That used to be a planet, third density planet, and then we were transferred to Mars, and we blew the atmosphere off of Mars, and then we came to Earth, and our we've had obviously a lot of difficulties on Earth. We had significant wars on the continent that was referred to as Atlantis, and we destroyed virtually destroyed the population there. But Atlantis was hit by a meteor, and that just sunk the planet. There used to be an Atlantis in between the Americas and the European continent. So that's a true story that
and you can see geologically in a lot of the geological records that it's happened here. And when it comes to cosmic time, recently, in the recent past, from all the vitrification signs and some of the rock that's been turned to glass and stuff like that, and it's
it turns into obsidian.
Yeah,
it's just heat. But they found cities under the Atlantic Ocean that they can't explain, so they don't publicize it. But they found remnants of cities, at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah. Are your see? I always look at you and I talking about this, and other podcasts talking about this, and all these different practitioners out there and researchers. Do you see any signs of, lack of a better word, mainstream science really looking into this transition, this density shift? And I don't see too many peer-reviewed papers coming out, like even from CERN or anybody else.
There has been a decision by the Federation, and the Federation is it's a very large federation that has decided this. And the Federation is a group of higher consciousness beings of all over creation, not just our galaxy, that have formed together because of similarities of understandings and purpose and so forth. And they've decided that it is time now for us to be integrated more actively into the rest of creation.
Yeah.
And they have begun visitations. And the visitations that they describe, and I get this from Federation members directly, that they will be taking physical form and landing in what we perceive to be craft in public parks and in government buildings around the world and things of that nature. So that can't be explained away as swamp gas or or whatever else that the government may try to come up with. But that's begun, and I understand that they've had some preliminary visitations to China and Russia. but China and Russia don't participate in the world media. And so they have not made anything public, but they have begun, and they will continue, and it will be unmistakable that, yes, there is extraterrestrial life out there. And the purpose is very simply to provide us with the opportunity to integrate our thinking into more a greater alignment with the rest of the creative beings.
It's about time. Can't wait.
Well, they've attempted numerous times. There was a group of that met with Eisenhower when he was president, and they asked whether he thought that the populace was ready, and he said no, and they said, okay, well, we'll wait. But they've done this several times, kind of testing the water, but now they've decided that it's time, whether the leaders decide that we're ready for it or not, to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I definitely think we're in much better chances now than when Eisenhower. I remember when the story with Eisenhower. Yeah, he definitely made a good decision, because if I tell you what, if they tried to implement it then, oh man,
yeah,
wow,
at the time,
yeah,
we'd still all be driving Studebakers if it
right, hovering Studebakers,
right, right, exactly.
Because I tell you what, if we would have kept Tesla's technology, that everything that he developed, and they wouldn't have held any of that back, we would be 100 years in technology ahead of time.
Well, he introduced free energy, and I do a podcast called Chatting with the Arcturians, and my significant other is a vocal channel for the Arcturians, and they gave us a free energy design, and we have it on YouTube. And they say that there are about 4 different groups of scientists around the world that are working on the what they couldn't give us was the metallurgy, but it's a handheld design that is very simplistic, that any electrical, anything that runs on electricity can plug into it. And so we would be afforded the opportunity, everybody, to have their own power source that they carry around with you that will power your car, it'll power your house, it'll power everything. They said this handheld device, 3 to 4 of them could power a whole factory.
Wow.
And it's perpetual. It never runs out of energy. You don't have to fuel it. It just is. It's just the power source, and it's forever. It doesn't disintegrate. It doesn't deplete in any way, but that is in the offing in the very near future, and I presume that we attract thoughts, and so this information is available. And what distinguishes a genius from a really smart person is that person that is deemed to be a genius has just opened themselves to receive the information, having had the foundational training. I mean, they could give me, advanced physics information all day long, and it'd go in one ear and out the other. I'm not a physicist. I haven't had the basics. But for those that have had that training, when they open themselves to receive that information, then it is available to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Oof. You see this coming? What do you see? What is the timeline? You see this coming within the next, 5, 10, 15, 20 years?
Before 2030.
Oh, wow. Man.
So you won't need batteries. You just plug your car into this thing and go.
Yeah. Man, I tell you what, when it happens, we're going to have a party. How about it?
Deal. I'll bring the chips and dip.
There you go. Heck yeah. So before we wrap up, again, where can people find you?
They can find me on the website that you have scrolling at the bottom of the screen, ddeangraves.org. It has all my contact information and the services that I can offer. It has all the connections to the books. You can order the books, or just click on the link there. They all go to Amazon, and the bookstore charged for my most recent book like $6 or $7 more than Amazon. So
Yeah.
it doesn't deplete any money from my pocket, or doesn't put any money in my pocket where you get it from. But that would be the most complete source. And a lot of people that I know that have read the book say it's difficult to read, but it's not difficult to read verbally. It's difficult because it challenges your belief systems.
Yeah.
So if you're ready for your belief systems to be challenged, then I highly recommend that book, The Enigma of Consciousness. If you're looking for some personal healing, the book you had up there last, the Identity Model, is an excellent book for that. That will take you a long, long way. Meditation is the ultimate healing tool, but it takes some time to get there. So if you want some quick results, the Identity Model can help you with that.
Yeah. Absolutely. What do you have to offer as a takeaway? Words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom. I have to dig deep for that.
The whole show. It's like everything.
Well, the words of wisdom is to understand that your purpose in life is to explore yourself, that every experience that you have, regardless of whether you perceive it to be good or bad, is providing you with an opportunity to fulfill your purpose in life. You control your experiences. If you want better experiences, then do the work to heal yourself, and you will receive the benefit of that work that you do.
Yeah. And surrender.
And surrender. It's all surrender. It's not anything. You put all those beliefs and perspectives into your beingness, and only you can take them out.
Yep. Dean, blessings, my friend. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I've enjoyed this. It's been very delightful for me.
Definitely. And I tell you what, honestly, I want to talk for hours. I've got a lot more questions, and I tell you what, let's do another show sometime. Definitely.
I would love to. I'm always available. Yeah. This is my mission, to provide the information and to help people to heal from their false perceptions of self, and the suffering and the pain that comes from their stress and suffering.
Yeah. And as we get closer to this, the shift that's been happening, but what's coming is definitely big. It's definitely going to be a shift.
Huge.
Yeah.
Not like anything. It is unique in all of creation.
Yeah.
We are the game to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And truly we are, and they're cheering us on, and all we have to do is to participate.
Yeah. Dean, thank you again, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you a lot.
It's been delightful.
Likewise. And stand by after recording, and got a quick question. But other than that, thank you everybody for chiming in, tuning into Conscious Radio Network's The Seance Podcast, and we will see you next time.